Philadelphia is a wonderful place to live, but there are several factors that you need to consider before moving here. There are some major things like the economy, the healthcare, cost of living, safety, etc., and some minor things that you need to know, and we're going over all of them and so much more right now. The first thing that you need to know before moving here is that Philadelphia is not the same city that most people think it is. 20 to 30 years ago, this city had an old, gritty, industrial feel, but that image is completely different from what Philly is today. The city has gone through one of the largest urban transformations on the East Coast and arguably throughout the country, fueled by massive growth due to the incredible healthcare scene, along with major sectors such as the life sciences, tech, and being home to some of the best higher education options in the country. Entire neighborhoods have been completely revitalized, which are now some of the most popular places to move within the city. On top of that, billions in redevelopment are reshaping the city by how it looks and feels. So yes, Philly is nothing like the outdated reputation that most people cling to, and it's very exciting what this city has planned for the future. So let's go over the next thing that you need to know before you even think about making the move here. One of the most important factors to consider when making a move to a new area is the overall atmosphere of the city and its residents. Luckily, Philly is like no other city when it comes to that. Neighborhood identity matters more in Philadelphia than any other city because people are truly proud of where they live. People most likely will not just say that they're from Philly, they'll say the specific neighborhood that they live within the city. Each area of Philadelphia has its own culture and overall feel, along with a different food scene and housing style as well. From all of the people that I've helped make the move to Philadelphia, they often tell me how surprised they are that each neighborhood within the city really does feel like its own separate town. Philadelphia is defined by loyalty, real and authentic culture, and has a very strong sense of community. But for those who have never lived in Philadelphia or have never visited the city, they might have heard that Philly is rude and rough, and that's just not the case. But instead, if they were to come to Philadelphia, they would quickly realize that they would find neighbors who would look out for each other, neighborhood events, residents who support local shops, and a surprisingly tight-knit feel. All right, so one of the main things that you need to know about is Philadelphia's location. This city has one of the best locations on the East Coast, and it always shocks people who aren't from here because they don't really realize that you'd only be about an hour and a half from New York City, 3 hours from DC, an hour from the Jersey Shore, and only around 30 to 45 minutes from some of the most popular Philadelphia suburbs. Plus, you'll of course have very close proximity to Philadelphia International Airport, which is the main airport within the state. So Philadelphia really is a pedestrian city. So besides being able to walk or ride your bike to just about everything that you would need, the public transportation company for the Philadelphia metro area is called SEPTA, and although they often have a bad reputation, it's actually one of the largest public transportation systems in the country because the rail line doesn't just go through the city, but it also extends out to the suburban towns as far as at about an hour outside of Philadelphia, which connects the city to the suburbs very nicely. If you plan to live and work in Philadelphia, then your best bet would be to walk, bike, or use the public transportation option because it's very possible to live in the city without owning a car. But if you plan to keep your car, traffic could be pretty tough depending on the time of day, similar to just about any major city. The good news is that if you're moving from a city such as New York, Los Angeles, etc., that has horrible traffic, when you come to Philadelphia, our traffic here will seem like nothing. So now for one of the things that you need to know, and although it is very true, you might not actually believe me. So yes, Philadelphia has experienced tremendous growth and is set up for so much more growth in the future, but it's still one of the most undervalued cities in the world. The cost of living in Philadelphia will absolutely shock you, especially if you're moving from a place such as New York, LA, New Jersey, etc. You likely won't believe how much house and space you can get for the price here in Philadelphia, because as of the time of making this video, the average home sale price is just under $230,000. Of course, this is the average throughout the entire city, and of course, each neighborhood has its own average price point, but even if we were to break it down to the most expensive neighborhood, the average home sale price in that neighborhood is still under $1 million, which is not something any other major city can say, as most other cities you can't find a spacious new home with plenty of privacy for under $1 million. But in Philly, you can find that and so much more for well under $1 million. Property taxes in the city are significantly lower than the nearby states and cities, along with everyday expenses such as groceries, parking, childcare, restaurants, entertainment, etc. are also noticeably more affordable compared to those other major cities. So of course, just like everywhere in the world, Philadelphia is not perfect when it comes to the crime stats. The thing about the crime that I will say is it of course depends on where you're moving from. For example, if you're moving from the middle of nowhere or a quiet suburb somewhere, and whether you're moving to Philadelphia or really any city, it might just feel a bit different just because you're not used to that atmosphere. But just like everything else, it really depends on which neighborhood within the city you end up moving to. So if you're not just going to be new to Philadelphia, but also new to Pennsylvania as a whole, you definitely need to know about the weather. Pennsylvania is one of the few states in the country that experiences all 4 seasons throughout the year. And sometimes it feels like we get 2 or 3 of those seasons all in one day. So beyond the warm spring season and the beautiful fall season as the leaves change, you'll also experience the hot, humid summers and the freezing cold winters. An East Coast summer is strange because sometimes the humidity is on the lower end and it is beautiful, the sun's shining and it's nice and hot. But on the days where the humidity is a lot higher, it's just a lot different of a heat. And if it's not something that you've experienced before, I highly recommend to come and visit this area in the summer so that you can truly get a better feel of what East Coast humidity is like. Although if you are moving from the south in states such as Florida, Georgia, etc., our humidity here is nothing like what you're used to. So now, on the other hand, winters can be pretty unpredictable. The Philly area has been lucky and we really haven't experienced a huge snowstorm in 3 or more years, but on average, Pennsylvania as a whole receives around 38 inches of snow per year, which is 10 inches higher than the national average. Philly winter temperatures hover around the mid-30s, but that can vary significantly with some days down into the teens, and some days we'll get lucky with temperatures in the high 40s to 50s. So if you're moving to a new area, you're definitely going to want to know what the economy and future look like for that area. And luckily, Philly's future is bright and full of momentum and opportunity. The city's main growth comes from the incredible healthcare and education scene, with 1 in 6 doctors throughout the entire country being trained right there in Philadelphia. The city and the suburbs are home to multiple hospitals that not only rank the best in Pennsylvania, but the best in the country, with a couple of them even being on the list for the best hospitals in the world, such as the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, the Mainline Health Network, Jefferson Health, Doylestown Hospital, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and so many more. Whether you're in the healthcare field or just want to live within close proximity to some of the best healthcare options in the country, Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs might be a great option for you. This area is also home to numerous top-rated colleges and universities, with a couple of them being the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School of Business, Temple, and Drexel University as well. So the one thing that almost everyone that moves from out of state into Philadelphia is shocked by is how great Philadelphia's food scene really is. It's truly one of the most underrated culinary cities in the country. Almost every client that I've helped make the move to Philadelphia to find their perfect home almost always comes back to me and says that they had no idea how incredible the Philly food scene really was. You'll find everything from food trucks and street vendors to Michelin star restaurants and everything in between. One of my favorite things that I always recommend to clients or those that are making the move or just coming to visit Philadelphia is definitely the Reading Terminal Market, which is a very famous, massive space that is home to tons of locally owned restaurants with every type of cuisine that you can imagine, all under one roof. So another thing that you definitely need to know is that in most states, the city is definitely where most people want to live, work, enjoy, etc., because it has everything going on right there in the city. And while Philadelphia certainly has plenty of different options for everything you might need and want, the one thing that's a little uncommon here is that our suburbs outside of the city are some of the top rated towns in all of Pennsylvania. Those suburbs are as desirable as Philadelphia, if not more desired. And according to niche.com, 70% of the top 10 places to live in Pennsylvania are located within the suburbs of Philadelphia. So if you decide that the city just isn't right for you, I would be happy to help you find your perfect home out in these suburbs as well. So one of the main things that I need to warn you about when it comes to living in this city is how much Philly residents absolutely love our sports teams. We're known to have some of the most dedicated fan bases in all of sports. And yes, unfortunately, some fans take it just a bit too far, and those are the ones that end up in the media. But the one thing that I will say about moving to Philadelphia, if you are in fact a fan of another team from another city, there's certainly nothing wrong with that, but please just do it respectfully. And for the most part, the Philly residents will very much leave you alone. If the Philly metro area sounds like the perfect place for you to make your move, I would be happy to help you find your perfect home, both in the city or out in the suburbs. You can find my contact information down below, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you over on this next video.